Okay, we are come to the Loom Chamber gauntlet. It's right before you get access to the actual Loom Chamber. It's right outside of it. It's a huge fight, and I'm going to try to get you through it as best as I can. I assume that if you are watching this video, you just simply can't do it, and you searched YouTube for help, and you found my video. You definitely come to the right place because I've done this twice, and I could do it again if I had to, but I wanted to make this, like I said in the very first video I did, I want to make this as honest a run as I can. So I left this fight in its entirety. There's no editing, no fancy little edits or cuts or anything like that. This was the fight. It lasted about 15 minutes. It's just it's extremely challenging, and like I said, I'm going to try to minimize how difficult it is for everybody, but you're still going to need to bring a lot of skill to the board during all these battles here. I was thinking to myself, like, why is this so hard? And I came across a number of reasons just, when I was just considering why it's so hard. And by the way, if anyone wants to skip to the fight, I'm going to be putting a time code in the description, which you can just click on. But I thought that a fight this huge and this difficult, because there's no steeper challenge in the game than this. This is essentially the final boss fight. Everything else after this is all downhill, even Zeus. So just, why I was thinking to myself, why is this so hard? And the first reason that came to mind was the fact that there's no checkpoints. Is that fair? And I asked myself, is that fair? And it is fair. It's fair if you have upgraded all the stuff. It's just a steep challenge. That's all it is. It's really something that induces a lot of paranoia in you. And another reason that it's so hard is just the sheer number of enemies. There's just so many enemies. I can't count them. If you wanted to count them, you could, but it just seems like they never end. And also, the way that the game groups the enemies together in different groups is very difficult too, because some of the times you'll be facing these huge cyclopses at the end, and then you'll also be fighting some extremely easy guys along with them. And same goes for when you're fighting the Satyrs. It's not the same, but you're also fighting Hades Minotaurs at the same time. Okay, so those are all factors about this fight that makes it so hard. Another factor is when you are fighting, I think there's 3 groups of enemies that are just like sentries and soldiers and stuff like that. Those fights, there's no wiggle room in those fights. You're just contained in one little area, and it could really be overwhelming, especially when even when you're in larger areas and you get backed into corners and enemies gang up on you. And I think a final reason why it's just so damn difficult, it's not even. This is just it's an odd thing that I thought of, but I thought it was true, because the music, it's this that intense, really dramatic, powerful music that I think this is the only time it's in the game. It's probably somewhere else, but it's this do or die music. It makes your heart race. It's just so epic of music, and it just makes you feel like everything's riding on your success here, and if you fail, it's just like you're going to crash and burn, and it's just going to be your personal undoing. It's really, it could really, the music, I think, it really makes you, it psychs you out, because when you're doing so well, things can go so wrong so easily. And with that being said, the next thing that comes to mind is, if it's so difficult, how can we best minimize how difficult this is? And I came up with a number of reasons here. The first of all is, don't ever go for a run where you think you're a badass. I've seen people do it, and if you are one of those people, that's fine. You want to go for a no upgrade run. But if you're like me and this is extremely difficult, it's just going to work against you if you haven't upgraded everything. And you don't have to have every single thing upgraded, because it's not possible, first of all. So firstly, you want to have all your magic and health up to as far as you possibly can, so you have as much health you can and as much magic at your disposal. Okay, and the second way to minimize how difficult this is to have upgraded all the weapons to their highest strengths. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that you've upgraded all of the weapons that I have upgraded, because the ones that I upgrade are just the ones that I'm most comfortable using. Namely, the Blades of Chaos, the Barbarian Hammer, Kronos' Rage, and that's about it. Those three. And is there another one I'm forgetting? There may be, but those I'm just really comfortable using. If you are one of those people who prefers the Atlas Quake to the Kronos' Rage, by all means, upgrade the Atlas Quake, because during this fight, I only had the Atlas Quake up to level 2, and the only time I ever used it was on accident. I accidentally had it assigned, and I pressed the L2 button, and I didn't want to use it. I was trying to use the Kronos' Rage. So it's just a comfortability factor. Upgrade everything you want that you're most comfortable with. And parrying is so essential in this. It's just, if you can't parry, you probably can't do this. So make sure you've practiced parrying. If you're not comfortable with the enemies, go to the treasures menu, and there is a Arena of the Fates where you could practice. To unlock that, you need to first beat all the Challenge of the Titans with a Titan ranking. But it's not hard to do that. But once you do that, you could essentially, each of these 7 phases, you can select all these enemies, and you can practice them if you want to. And it makes them, when you encounter them in the real battle, it makes them a lot less hard. And lastly, the best way to minimize the difficulty is to use the blue magic barriers to your full advantage. These barriers, they rotate at a set pattern all the time. It's always in the same order, and they're going to save your ass. The reason the blue barriers go up and down is to help you. Sometimes they can trap you if you don't get to them quickly, and for instance, like a Cyclops is right on your heels and you just get backed into it. But those things are designed to put a barrier in between you and the enemies, so you could damage them. So with all that said, I just want to let everybody know that this was not a run that was my best. I could have done a lot better, but I decided to just get one win in, and I wanted to publish my victory, even though it's not perfect, because there's no sense of me posting something that's absolutely perfect and just is all about showing off. This what you're going to see is not me showing off one bit. This is me surviving and succeeding in the challenge. You're going to see me fail quite a bit. You're going to see me miss parries. You're going to see me, in one instance, fail a quick time event. You're going to see me, not get to a barrier in time that comes up, so I get trapped. I think, and I'm going to be pointing out every time I make a mistake, I'm going to be showing you like what I did wrong and what I should have done, so you can avoid the same pitfalls that I did. So that's where I'm coming from with this video, and that's basically all I wanted to say. This was so challenging. When I first made my video guide and I did this, I was in awe that I could even do it the first time. I was just in shock. On hard difficulty, it wasn't such a big accomplishment, but when I got to Titan mode, I just didn't think I would ever be able to do it. And this time around, I did it a lot quicker, just because I knew how to do it, and I already had that one win to bolster my self-esteem a little bit. But yeah, it's an extremely difficult ordeal, but you can definitely rise to the challenge and beat it. You just need a lot of patience. You need to practice it. You got to be familiar with the enemies. You need to know how to parry, and you need to you need to not get stressed and not get into a situation where you're just getting paranoid, because it's during those times when you could really screw up, and that happened to me, and I'm going to point it out when it happens, just to show you just what can go wrong. Even though things go wrong, you can still win. It's not, there's nothing, this is not a perfect example of how to do it. This is just one victory that I've done. I've beat it twice now, and it's the second time I'm going over how to do this. So, okay, so without any further ado, let's just take a look at, before the fight, I just want to show, okay, so there's 7 phases of enemies, so I just want to just show what they are, and just talk a little bit about what they are. It's not going to take very long. So phase 1, Cursed Legionnaires and Fate's Juggernauts. These are the Legionnaires that cannot be grabbed, and these are the Juggernauts with the standard mace that's not a flaming mace like the Hades Juggernauts have. The phase 2 is more Cursed Legionnaires, and they add Fate Sentries in this. The Fate Sentries can be grabbed and thrown. They're the easier version. Phase 3 is a difficult one with Sirens, Gorgon Assassins, and Gorgon Queens, all of whom, the Gorgons, that is, they shoot projectile attacks. And the phase after that, phase 4, is all Cursed Legionnaires. Phase 5, another hard one, the standard Satyrs and the Hades Minotaurs. And then after that, phase 6, it's a duplicate of phase 2. It's just Cursed Legionnaires again with the Fate Sentries. And then the final phase is the Cyclops Brutes with Cursed Legionnaires and Fate Sentries. So it's the Cyclops are like the middle ground of difficulty, because the Cyclops Truants are the easier versions, but on the other hand, the harder versions are the Cyclops Berserkers. So just it's in like the middle ground of difficulty level. So anyway, let's take a look at the battle and how to beat it. Let's do this shit. Just head on down the hall. Smash the door with the hammer. One hit with the hammer. Level 3 takes it out. It's going to be phase 1 over here with the Juggernauts and the Cursed Legionnaires. So just go down here. When you hear the music, fall back. We're going to be using the blue barriers to our advantage as much as possible. We're going to be heading over to the right. Once the Juggernauts spawn, and once they start marching their way over to us. But for now, just parry these guys' attacks. It's really good to use them as projectiles when they have the circle button over their heads. So when they do have that over their heads, press the square button and you can fling them at other enemies. Normally it will auto-target the Juggernauts if they're around. It does a ton of damage. It's really remarkable how much damage it does. It's just kind of odd in that respect. So I think the Juggernauts were a little late in coming over here. They usually come a little quicker. Maybe they spawned in a different location this time. So here they come. So I got grabbed here, but I was intent to go over here once they arrived on the scene. So just double jump and fly over them. It's real safe to do. And you see how I'm going to use this as a barrier between them and me. You can just normally hit with the hammer through the barrier, but it's a little more powerful to do that ground blast that I'm doing right there. Although it is a bit of a commitment on your part as far as how vulnerable you want to be when you come down with that. So you see I'm heading over here to the left again, and I knew this wall was going to come down. It's just a matter of time. And then I'm going to shield myself behind it. Normally these Legionnaires are pretty quick enemies, so they'll usually end up on the other side with you. So just take care of them with your blades. The blades are extremely ineffective against the Juggernauts, so always use the hammer. This is the reason why we've upgraded the hammer to level 3, because it's extremely helpful on this part. This part is very difficult. It's just the first phase, normally you would think it would be kind of easy, but this is tough. So I'm going to head back here. Got it just in time. These are all on timers. That's always the same pattern. It's just sometimes you get into the thick of things when you're fighting enemies and you get to a barrier too late and it closes up on you. So I did a triangle combo there just for the heck of it, knowing it probably wouldn't even damage them very much. What happens with the Juggernauts is that once you kill one, then the third one will spawn. So I shielded myself back here. If you want to get the circle prompt over both juggernauts and then dispatch them one right after the next, that's okay to do, but it's kind of doesn't make much sense since we're fighting 2 now anyway, so it's not really a big deal to fight 2 at once. Every single attack they do can be blocked. Sometimes when they'll like ram you a little bit, it does the sound like you're getting hit. It does that sound effect, but trust me, you will not take any damage. It's just, I don't know why they do that. It doesn't really make sense. So head back here, and then behind the barrier. What happened here is that the Juggernaut got caught behind the barrier off screen, so he took a bit to get over to where I was. But I was ready for him with some ground pounds, and they're not very tough. When it's just one of them and there's nothing left, no real big deal. As you can see, I'm hitting him through the barrier, and I think it takes about a half a dozen hits or so with the hammer at level 3. The hammer is just so indispensable of a tool here. It just works so well against these guys and against the Hades Minotaurs. It just makes your life so much easier. So take this. I like that animation. That's really tight. So head on down here. Now this batch. What I like to do here is electrify these enemies and then do the Cyclone of Chaos. And you see how many I dispatched. I killed a bunch of them there. So just make sure the ones that you are grabbing are the lighter ones in color, because the other ones can't be grabbed. So this is a very, very hard wave for me, just due to the fact that so much is going on here. And when these Gorgon assassins, and I think there's some Gorgon queens intermixed here, they have a ton of HP, and their tail swipes and any attack of theirs, the Gorgons, it takes away so much damage. It's not fair, and it doesn't make sense. The distribution of hit damage, it's really unfair. So all these moves can be blocked. When the Sirens do that electric charge, you got to watch out. You got to move around so you're not standing on any problem areas. So that parry didn't take because I was too far away. So this one actually did, and it takes a lot. You have to make direct contact with these Gorgons to kill them. You saw right there what I did was I killed one of them, but the other one didn't get damaged. And right there again, nothing doing. She broke out of it because I just didn't make enough contact with her. And I think it would be better to use the L1 plus triangle move on them. But this is so hectic that, in hindsight you could say, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. But when you're doing this is it's all gut reactions and just thinking just on your feet constantly. You never really get a break except for when a phase is over. So this is just a real extreme adrenaline rush. And the Sirens aren't that hard normally. It's just that when they're intermixed here with the Gorgons. So I would use your magic sparingly on this fight here, and just kind of see how much damage that took away. That was insane. And the Gorgons, there's so many Gorgons, it's crazy. Now they cannot hit you or petrify you through the barrier, but the little crux of that is that you cannot parry and damage them via the stone attack. The only reason it worked there is because the barrier was just coming down. You'll see right here, I attempt to parry, it doesn't work. So that was a little oddity that it did work there, but that was only because the barrier was coming down right then. See, right there, I was just standing around. That was because I froze. I froze up. I didn't know what to do. I was trying to plan my attacks, and those Gorgons were just psyching me out. It happens a lot in this battle. You'll get overwhelmed. You'll freeze up, and it's nothing that I'm ashamed to admit or even care about admitting because it's just a factor in this fight. See that swipe right there, and now I'm beeping. So I inadvertently put the Atlas Quake on, and then for some reason now I have the Bane on, the Typhoon's Bane, and I didn't even know I had done that. It was just an accident when you're mashing so many buttons, but it's really going to affect me in a subsequent part. So right now I'm just sizing up the situation, trying to remember what's coming up. All we have here is these Cursed Legionnaires here. These guys are actually pretty tough when they're in a huge group. Like you see I got ganged up right there. they do a cheap like little twirl move and hit you, which they don't telegraph too much, and mostly their attacks can be parried with pretty much ease. Another problem is trying to grab them when there's so many around, and the grab detection is not as flawless as you need it to be, and you end up you're trying to grab one with a circle prompt, and the game tries to grab another one for you, and then you get hit, and then you get a bunch of hits. So it's just really something you got to watch out for. So here I'm backtracking to get a little bit more magic. I got another chest on hand, so there's actually 5 total chests, and I'll show you how to get the last ones. So here's what happened up here is that let me see if this was the area. Okay, no, it was the next area. So this is a tough fight here, very, very hard. Do not hesitate to use as much magic as you want here. This is a very, very hard wave of enemies, because when you're facing the Satyrs, the best way to deal with them is to spar with them via the circle button. But since there's obviously so much stuff happening around you, you will get interrupted unless you're on one side of the barrier and it's just you and one Satyr. That's the only way to parry a spar with them safely. So just do not hold back with the magic. You should not have wasted a lot by this point. So pretty much this is the part where you need to save it up, and the final phase is the part where you really need a lot of magic on hand. So I'm just manipulating the barriers here, using Cronus' Rage to the best of my ability. I'm not using Atlas Quake because it's just at level 2, and it doesn't have much efficacy at level 2. So right here he's going to do that ground pound. I'm going to move. You have to toggle when you're using the hammer. You have to toggle between the hammer and the chains when you're attempting to roll, because you cannot roll with the hammer. So you have to practice very much with toggling between those two weapons when you're trying to dodge roll, because it's just not going to let you with the barbarian hammer. You can't do it. So here, whenever there's like a face on the wall, that means that wall that's the end of the line. It's not going to dissipate. So the only way I can go now is to the right. So I got this guy down with the quick time button events. I'm going to head on over to the right, trying to isolate this guy if I can. Let's see if I can do it. I just grabbed him anyway, hoping and praying that the barrier would go up. And it actually did. So this is an example where you can safely spar with this guy without getting interrupted by any combo hits of the other guy. They actually can hit you through the wall, so I was a little too close for comfort here, but I was just taking whatever I could here to get this guy out of the way. And so I was sparring with him. There was a classic mistake of just getting greedy, and right there, the Atlas Quake, I did not intend to use that. I intended to use the Cronus' Rage, but I didn't know that I had accidentally pressed the... previously, I just didn't know I had turned that magic on. Didn't want to turn it on. I'm really just relying on Cronus' Rage at level 3, because so far in the game, I just do not have enough orbs to upgrade to level 3 for the Atlas Quake. So, up ahead... is a duplicate of the Phase 2 with the Fate Sentries and the Cursed Legionnaires. But first I'm going to backtrack and get this one chest. Fully take advantage of every treasure chest. And just don't get the gold magic, obviously. We will be using Rage of the Titans in Phase 7, primarily to open chests without getting interrupted. So, look, if you look in the upper left, I have the Fiends, the Typhoon's Bane equipped. And that it's a huge mistake right here, because I thought I had I just assumed I had the Cronus' Rage activated, and I dropped some magic right off the bat, and look how much damage I took. Almost to the point where I should be concerned that I'm going to be perishing before too long. So that's a good mistake to learn from. Just always, when you're going into the next wave and you're going to rely on magic, just always remember which one you have activated. So now, Phase 7. Right over here, immediately activate Rage of the Titans and grab these chests, because you cannot get interrupted in the chest opening animation while you have this Rage of the Titans activated. You can get damaged slightly, but sometimes you need like one extra little second, and right there I missed it. That was really bad right there. Should have got there a little sooner. So that made up for it right there, getting to this side of the barrier. These guys are the Cyclops, what are they called? The Brutes. They have those large cudgels, and this is hard because it's such a confined area, and there's a little bit of wiggle room like over here, but it's really hectic and really crazy. And as you know, these guys have a ton of HP, and so just rely on your magic as much as possible. Move around constantly. Do not get hit by them if you could possibly avoid it. It's easier said than done, obviously. And the Rage of the Titans is somewhat helpful. It's not that helpful, though. I would recommend just using magic more. So as you can see, I don't have any magic left, but I'm going to try to use these barriers to my advantage. I was able to isolate myself with one Cyclops, and right there I think I got damage right there. But over here, let's see what happens. I know there was one instance where something really odd happened, and then it put me out of the groove right over here. So I accessed the quick time of a button press, and then this kind of weird little glitch happened. So it completely threw me off guard. And when I landed, I had the hammer activated. I was successful in getting these quick time buttons down, but when I come down here, I have the hammer activated. I just didn't know I had it activated, and I accidentally got the Rage of the Titans, so I got trapped in this little area, and I was thinking to myself, oh no, it's over, I'm done for. It's so exhilarating. I should have headed it back over to the left. Nope, I missed it. I did that last time too. I just got so greedy. I'm just so desperate to win here. So that was a good decision right there to move to the left. And the Cyclops kind of got trapped behind some of those soldiers there. So it's just me and him over here. And even though it's pretty cramped over in this area, I can avoid his attacks and then get back over here behind this barrier and maybe even the other barrier. Yes, get the hell over there, Bick. And then do the ground pound with the L1 and triangle button and just take this last Cyclops out along with these cursed Legionnaires. So just don't mess these quick time buttons up. I've done it before. It's not a huge setback, but it is something that really throws you off your guard. So that's it for the Cyclopses. Now there's just a couple of more cursed Legionnaires to deal with. So I decided to just finish these guys off with style because I knew I was going to win. And that probably sounds cocky, but I knew I was going to win here. So I decided to take care of these guys in really good, high, grand fashion. You see, I paid for that. That was a mistake I definitely paid for. I got what I was due there. I shouldn't have been so trying to get such a good streak going right there. So here I'm just flinging this guy, and after him there's just one more guy left. I'm going to use him as a projectile, and then I'm going to finish this guy off with a nice grab move. So once it's done, you could breathe a sigh of relief, get your ass over to the save point, and just thank God that it's all over. Anyway, I hope that helps. I hope this helps anyone beat this part. And we've done it. We have beaten the devil.